Okay, so here I'm going to import the libraries because this is the first step which has been required to do any of the project. So I'm going to take the basic libraries which has been required. Pandas, that is obviously I'm available with the data, okay, in an Excel sheet format. So I need to convert it into the data frame, and then I need to apply all the operations over the data frame. Okay, so that's why I'm going to take the pandas. Then NumPy, obviously, if I need to perform the operations related to the linear algebra. Okay, so NumPy is a library which has been going to be helpful for me. The next one is the Matplotlib and the Seaborn. These two are the libraries which are being used for the data visualizations. Okay, so Matplotlib is a basic data visualization library, and the Seaborn has been inbuilt on the top of the Matplotlib. Okay, so these are the two basic libraries which I'm going to incorporate. So if I do talk about the libraries like Pandas, NumPy, Matplotlib, Seaborn, every project which we do related to the data science or the machine learning, these are the basic libraries. So if you don't know whatsoever, you need to go into include all of them. Okay, now the next comes a library that is called a stats model. See, what is this stat model is going to do? If we are going to perform the statistical related operations, statistics. Okay, so stats model is basically a Python library which has been built specifically for the statistics. So stat model has been built on the top of NumPy and the scientific Python, that is SciPy, and the matplotlib, so it has been incorporated on the top. So obviously it is having all the applications related to the numpy, scipy, and the matplotlib. We can perform all the tasks related to it. Okay, but it contains more advanced functions related to the statistical testing, modeling. Okay, then more than the numpy and the scientific Python. Okay, so that is why I'm using stats model here. Okay, and any kind of computation related to the descriptive statistics. Okay, so the descriptive statistics, that is mean, median, mode, standard deviation, variance, and um, most of the things related to the statistics, all this is going to cover in the stats model. Okay, so that's why I'm going to take this particular library, stats model. Then the TensorFlow STF. So if you are going to work with the deep learning, obviously TensorFlow is the library that is a Google product, basically TensorFlow. So this is something has been required to use. So TensorFlow, I'm going to incorporate here. Okay, and then the next one is the XGBoost. Okay, so this XGBoost, that is XGB, this is a machine learning model, and I'm going to use this XGBoost technique here, because if you do talk about the boosting, see, boosting is a technique. Okay, and which works on the assembling. And in our data set there are different kind of learners. That means we can have a weak learner, we can have strong learners also. Okay, that means obviously if we are teaching, if I am also teaching in a class, then definitely there are average students also, there are good students also, and there are poor students also. So my goal is to train the poor students, so that my what will happen, the result of my class is going to improve further. For example, if I don't focus on the poor learners, and if I do concentrating on the good learners or the average learners, they can improve. But what will happen to the poor learners? They will gonna fail. So obviously the result of my class will be going to degrade. But so the point is, I need to improve the result of my class. So definitely here the boosting is certainly a technique which has been make the poor learners to perform well. So what happens, that at any instant of time, for example t, the model outcomes are weight based upon the outcomes of the previous instant. So what will happen, I divide my class into for example, I just keep uh, the poor learners, I make a group of poor learners, I concentrate on them, make them learn, and whatever the outcome which has been coming from them, I'm going to feed it to the next group of learners, so they did not have to work upon on the previous thing. Okay, previous the learning has been done, and whatever the outcome is going to came, I just given that to the next group of the people. Okay, so they will start from that, they will not going to start from the scratch, basically. Okay, so this is what happens in a boosting scenario. Okay, so
Sir,
I'm yeah, yeah.
what is the installation code for the XGBoost?
Exhibit, sir, I guess you can use pip for that. Okay,
I
because
I used it, but it is still giving the error.
Is it still
exclamation
giving?
mark space pip installed XGBoost.
Okay, it's giving you error. Okay, so I will share that how you are going to install. Either you can use pipey. Okay, pip install XGBoost. You can use it from the pipey website also. Let me put it here on the comment. Okay,
Yeah,
so
please.
okay, so this you can use from pipey website. Pipey. Okay, this is available, and its version is 1.7.2. Okay, you can try for the XGBoost. Here it has been available. Okay, so now the next case is these two libraries I'm going to use for my machine learning. XGBoost for the deep learning. I'm going to use the TensorFlow. Then the next thing is if it happened that warning came during the execution of the code, if any kind of the warning came during the execution of the code, I need to ignore them. So by default I'm using here warnings ignore. Okay, from warnings I'm going to warner dot filter warnings ignore. Okay, so this will not going to produce the warnings. Then the next thing is, as I have taken TensorFlow, so Keras is something which has been inbuilt on the top of the TensorFlow. And if you need to create any model, any deep learning model, so obviously you need to build the layers for that particular model. Okay, so the kind of layers which has been required, obviously if you are been learning the learning as a part of this DL deep learning thing, so you will be knowing about what is the dense layer, what is LSTM, and what are the convolution, and all these kinds of layers has been available. So if I do talk about, these are the layers I have defined from my end. Okay, if there have been whatever be the usage that I will discuss as I'm going to implement according to the model which has been required, but these are some things which have been defined from my end. For example, with the help of the Keras layers, I have imported dense layer. See, dense layer is a layer, this is an intermediate layer, and all of the computation is going to perform on the dense layers. Okay, for example, we are having an input layer, we are having an output layer, and in between we are having the dense layers, or they are called as the intermediate layer. So we are having neurons which are available in the dense layer, and we give the input to these neurons, and they perform the computation on the basis of the activation function, and then give the output to the next layer. Okay, so there are many dense layers available between the input layer and the output layer, and they are present in the Keras. And Keras is inbuilt on the top of the TensorFlow. So that is why I've incorporated the TensorFlow first, and then from the TensorFlow I'm taking the Keras, and Keras is having this layer thing, and the layer they are having various layers, and I'm taking the dense layer, LSTM, long short term memory, that I will explain ahead, because we are going to use this as a deep learning model for the training purpose. Okay, then convolution 1D max pooling and all this stuff is the thing is I need to extract the features from my data. Okay, for example, max pooling, min pooling, average pooling, this is certainly I need to extract the features from my data set which has been required. And then the next thing is a flatten, that means the kind of the task which you used to do in machine learning, that is principal component analysis. So same thing has been here with related to the flatten in case of the deep learning. That means I need to perform the dimensionality reductions. So this is what has been done by the flatten. And dropout is something when it happens that my model is going to perform the overfitting. If there is a chances while training of the model it's going to perform like an overfit, so I'm going to use this dropout thing. So dropout will, what it gonna do, dropout will for example, there are 10 neurons in your dense layer, so it will not consider 5 neuron from its side, and it will, because if it happens that your model is going to perform the overfitting, so dropout will gonna drop the 5 neurons, not for the training, it will consider only 5 neurons for the training, and it will move ahead. So this has been done by the dropout. Okay, and the next one is the repeat layer, repeat vector. So let's see if this kind of component has been required ahead in our project or not. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes, yes, Chetan. Your mic is having issue. Okay, now the next thing is your stat models, graphics, and I need to perform some plots. I need to do
Hello,
some
sir.
plots. Okay. Yes. Do you have any question?
Yes, yes, I have one
Yes. Yes. Please
question.
ask the question.
Yeah, sir. As you said, that dropout is automatically drop out of
Yeah, yeah, drop.
dense
Yeah,
area
yeah, yeah,
index.
yeah, yeah.
Like
Automatically. Yeah,
if we
automatically.
select like a 10
See,
or
there are
like
certain
15,
see what happened. There is
then
certain values which are available in the dropout. There are some parameters available which we are going to give it while creating a model. Okay, well, when you are going to create a model, you need to give this. You need to make a dropout thing. You need to give some numerical value inside it, and accordingly, it's gonna perform. But the
okay,
task of the dropout is what I told you.
okay, got it.
Okay. Now the next thing is if I need to draw some plots. So I'm going to consider here plot ACF and plot PACF. So what are these two things? See, we are going to work upon the time series as you have already seen in the data set that we are available with the year 2015 from the date 1 1, and we are going to consider 1 1 hour each. Okay, so in case of time series we are having components like trend, seasonality, cyclic, residual. These are the components which are available in the time series. I'm going to discuss about these components when we are going to perform the implementation ahead. So we are having these components. Okay, and if you do talk about ACF consider all the components to find the correlation, and that is it's called as complete autocorrelation plot. Basically ACF is complete autocorrelation plot, and this PACF is a partial autocorrelation function. Okay, so if you are going to consider all the components which are available in the time series, so we are going to plot for the ACF. And if you want to consider some components which are present in the time series, then we are going to use PACF. Okay, so basically ACF measures and plots the average correlation between the data points. Okay, it plots the average correlation between the data points which are available in the time series. Okay, and if you do talk about the PACF is also same as that of the ACF. Okay, that means again the correlation factor basically, but this is partial. This will be a partial thing. Okay, it consider partial correlation from any of the correlation between the observations. Okay, so these are the two kind of plots which we are going to utilize since we are working with the time series thing. Okay, so that's why I have incorporated ACF and PSCF. Okay, and then we are having another statistics tools also. Okay, so this comes from the stats model. As I have already included stats model ahead, very much important library if you are going to work with the statistics. Okay, so here I'm not going to work with the simple matplotlib in the C1. I definitely require some other graphical tools to represent my time series. Okay, now the next thing is stats model.tsa. Tsa stat tools import ad fuller, kpss, and ccf. Again, I hope these things are definitely new for you all people. If I do talk about ADF, yes, ask the question. Any doubt? Please let me know. See, ADF is yeah. Ask the question.
वो एरर अभी भी आ रहा है सर मेरा उसका
Okay.
टेक्स्ट दे देंगे मेरे कोड का प्लीज
Okay. So,
एक्सी
sir.
बूस्ट वाला
Okay. I think मैं सर I will help you ahead कि उसको कैसे resolve करना है. Okay.
जी
Might be
ठीक
something आप शायद कहीं installation में कुछ हो रहा हो.
मे बी
Okay. So, sir, you can install instead of installation अभी at this moment it is not been required XGBoost. तो आप एक काम कर दीजिए उस library को remove कर दीजिए आप.
ओके
है ना, आप अभी हाँ कोड से उसको रिमूव कर दीजिए, उसका जरूरत नहीं है अभी. Okay, and then you can proceed ahead. Okay, so if we do talk about ADF, see ADF जो है, it is a statistical significance test basically, and it means that the test will be given results on the basis of hypothesis testing, and we are considering null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis here. Okay, so here we are going to perform the hypothesis test, and we will be having a we will be having a p value.
वो खरीद नहीं है ये
Okay, we are having a p value for which what we are going to do
ઓલા ખાસ
for the
નાના નાના સ્ક્રૂ ન પડે ને એનું ખાસ
okay.
ધ્યાન રાખજે નકર આપણી
Sorry,
પ્રિન્ટ
you are not speaking. Can you?
Okay, so what we are going to have here is If we do talk about Ed Fuller, with the help of this, I'm going to perform the hypothesis testing. Okay, so what happens in hypothesis testing is you need to get some sample of the data, then you need to test for that what results that particular sample of data is going to give you. Okay, so here we will be having p-value for which we need to make some inferences about the time series which is been stationary or whether it is not stationary. Okay, because as we have seen our data set that there will be complete fluctuation in the ratings. Okay, so for that reason we are going to perform the hypothesis testing on the basis of the p-value, and there are two statistical tests basically which has been performed on the time series models, on the time series things. So as we are working on a time series data, so definitely here we are going to have ADF and KPSS kind of test. See, basically the kind of test which we used to do in case of hypothesis testing is not the same as I have been putting here in my code, that is ADF and KPSS. But when you are going to perform a hypothesis testing for the time series kind of model, you need to incorporate these two um libraries, okay, to perform the operation. So in my code, I'm taking from the stats model. I need to perform this task. So AD Fuller, KPSS and CCF, these are being used for the hypothesis testing on the availability of the p value. We are going to check how my sample is going to perform. Okay, then the next thing is I'm going to perform the mean square error and the R2 square score. Okay, so what is this mean square error? See, mean square error measures the average of error squares, that is the average square difference between the estimated values and the true values. Okay, so you are going to perform the estimation. After you are getting the estimation, what is the actual value and what is the estimated value? Okay, so we need to find the difference of these two, and we need to find the square of them, and then we need to calculate the mean of it. This is called as a mean square error. Okay, and and what is the R2 score? See, R2 score is basically if you are going to perform the regression. Okay, so this is a coefficient of determination. R2 score is basically your coefficient of determination, and it's that determination means that your particular regression model is been better fitted or not. If you are going to perform, okay, I'm going to take linear regression, if I'm going to perform any kind of other regression things, so I need to check whether this particular model has been better fitted or not. Now the case is, sir, you haven't included other libraries in your data set at the present. You have just used XGBoost and your TensorFlow. Okay, and then you are going to you are using LSTM here. Okay, so you are not using any kind of regression for the prediction or the forecasting of your prices. Okay, so but still I'm just going to explain you that if you are going to work on this particular project in later ahead, you can use other techniques also apart from the libraries which I have used for the forecasting. So that is why I'm going to explain you. So regression R2 score is something which is let you know that what is the regression technique which you have to take. If the R2 score is 1, then this is the best, and if R2 score is 0, then and if it is negative, then that model is not at all suggested for the use. Okay, because if you do talk about the R2 score, if it is zero point 0.8, zero point 0.9, if it is 1, that means your model is better fitted. The data which you are going to put into the model, it is going to give you the good result. So considering that model is fine. But if your R2 score is like 0.00 negative, that means the data which you are going to fit in that particular model is not at all supportive. So don't use that kind of regression model. So in case of regression, we don't have like this thing, accuracy, classification, confusion. No, these metrics, all these things are not being used in regression. We are having mean average error, RMSE, R2 score. These are the coefficients which are used for the regression analysis. Okay, so that's why for that particular reason I have used. So some important things which you need to focus it upon, that is the stats model. if you are going to perform time series analysis, stats model is something which has been important. So I've used stat model graphics to perform the plotting, and stats model tools to perform the hypothesis testing. These two important, and remaining.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
so R2 is a correlation factor.
Yeah, core. No, so it's a coefficient of what I did told. It's a coefficient of determination related to the regression analysis. Coefficient of determination,
Okay.
not correlation. Coefficient of determination. Okay. So now the next libraries which I'm going to use here is from the scikit-learn, sklearn pre-processing. I'm going to take label encoder, standard scaler, and the min-max scaler. See, label encoder is something, if you are having category data, or if you are having binary things, so you can label them like 0 1, or if you are having multi-class 0, so you can label them by 0 1 2, because the point is I'm not going to use the text thing into my data. I can't put the text thing into my data. Obviously I need to put some numerics. So if you put text, then your model will not gonna work. So it's mandatory for you to convert them into numerics. So label encoding is something I can label. I can put them, some numerical value. So, for example, if you're having true false, you can give them 0 1, yes, no, 0 1. This is what a label encoder do. And the next thing is the standard scalars and the min max scalar. See, standard scalars and the min max scalars are used because the thing is, as you have seen in your data set comprises of different units. Okay, energy is having some different unit. Okay, temperature is having some different unit. Wind speed is having some different unit. Obviously we are having different units. Okay, so if there is a different units available in your data set, and I want to use all these features in my model for the training purposes, I need to scale them. Unless and until if I don't scale them, they will not get normalized and they will not come under a same plane. So it is mandatory for me to scale them. So there are various kind of scaling techniques. So here I'm using two techniques. That is, one is the standard scaler and one is your min max scaler. Okay, so if I do talk about the standard scaler makes mean equal to 0, mean of the data equal to 0, and scales the data to unit variance. This is the task done by standard scaler. And what is the task performed by the min max scaler? See, it features the data from the range 0 to 1 or -1 to 1. Okay, if in case you are available with your data in negative values are also available in your data, then it scales the data from -1 to 1, else it scales the data from 0 to 1. So standard scaler and min max scaler both scales your data from 0 to 1, but min max can also scale your data to -1 to 1, depending upon if you are having the negative values. So if you are having negative values in your data set, use min max scaler, don't use a standard scaler. Okay, so that is just to normalize the data. The concept of these two libraries is to normalize your data. Okay, so they should come under one plane, one line, one scale. Then the next thing is PCA, Principal Component Analysis, PCA. And why we are going to use PCA? Because sklearn, it has been coming from the decomposition, and I need to select the feature. Okay, that means ultimately this is based upon the dimensionality reduction. In my data set there are many much features. Okay, there are many features, 20, 30. We have seen that in our data set we are having multiple features. And the point is, we are not see what kind of features been useful for us and what have been not useful for us. This is what we are going to decide. Okay, so principal component analysis is the technique which is a dimensionality reduction technique, and basically it will let you know that which feature is much more better suited for us to be in use. So I will not go in depth related to all the terms, and I'm not going to explain what is inner algorithm, what is the inner technique, what is the inner mathematics related to the PCA. But if you are the part of my machine learning course, definitely I did explain this thing in a depth. What is PCA and how does it performs and what is the maths been happening here. So just to be very simple, PCA, principal component analysis, used for the dimensionality reduction, and we need to consider those features which are being effective to be used in our machine learning training model ahead. Okay, Then the next thing is your train test split. Obviously I need to split my data into training and the testing, so that is the reason I use this train test split. And if I need to perform some square root of the data, so that is why I've taken from math, I have included SQRT for this particular purpose. Okay, so these are the basic libraries which we are going to incorporate in our project. Okay, and anything more comes ahead, I will let you explain in the coding part. Okay, now the next thing is I have taken my data set. Okay, that means pd.read underscore csv, because I have saved these two data set in my drive. Okay, and I'm accessing them and just this csv file and converting it into the data frame. So df underscore weather, and I just name them. For whether I name, depends upon you what you can give the name. So this is how I'm going to take my data set. Okay, and I hope the question which has been coming to your mind will be, sir, what are these parse dates? See, basically, we are going to parse. What does this parsing means? What does this parsing means? See, parsing, this is certainly a technique on the basis of which I need to consider my data set here. And here in my data related to the weather, I'm considering it related to dt underscore ISO. And dt underscore ISO, if I do talk about the first thing, if we do talk about the weather, this is my complete year along with the date and the time. So I'm parsing my data of my weather features with related to dt underscore ISO, and then I'm parsing my energy data on the basis of the time. Okay, so that's why I use the parse dates as one of the factor which is available in my pandas data frame. Okay, so because in my data sheet, obviously there this is a time series problem, so date time is been available in my both of the sheets, so I'm just parsing them according to the date time format. Okay, so if I do elaborate about this thing more, see, the point is, if we want to attempt to infer the format of the date time strings, it is uh, this technique why I included. The reason is I want to perform some faster accessing of my data, work upon, if I need to work upon my data in a quick way. Okay, so parsing helps you to analyze your data in a quick format, quick way. Okay, so that's why I did perform the this and use these two features, okay, for the daytime analysis in my data sheet. All right, now the next thing, after taking my data set into and converting that into the data frame, I printed the first 5 rows of my data with the head, then the last 5 rows of my data with the tail. I'm going one by one. Okay, I did took the weather first. Okay, and then I'll do the work with this data frame initially with the weather, and then later I will work on the energy part also. Okay, so whether I have already explained all these parameters, we have a good discussion about all these parameters. So first 5 rows, last 5 rows, then I'm going to print the shape of my data set. So you can see that my data set is a huge data. It comprises of 1,78,396 rows and 17 columns. Okay, and these are the column names. You are going to print the column names, and then I later checked whether there are any duplicated values present in my data set. So I found that yes, there are 21 duplicates available in my data set. So later I did dropped with the help of drop underscore duplicates. I drop the duplicated values which are present in my data set. Okay, then later I found that whether there are null values available in my data set or not. So it's good thing is there are no null values available in my data set. So you need to perform the data cleaning operations at the starting. So here you have access your data, and then you are going to perform the data cleaning things. So I clean my data from the duplicates, then I was checking that whether there are null values available in my data set or not. So I did found that there are no null values, so let's proceed ahead. Then the next thing is I printed the information about my data, the complete information about my data, that how many of them are the object type, how many of them are the floating type, integer type, and whatsoever. I just put the information of my data. Okay, and then after putting the information, I printed the statistical information of my data set, that is df underscore weather dot describe, that is statistical. So whatever the numerical values which are present in your data set, it will let you know that what is the count for them, what is the mean, what is the standard deviation, minimum, maximum value which is present in your data set, and this is the 25%, 50%, and the 75% data distribution for that. Okay, so the complete statistical information will going to be printed with the help of a describe method. Okay, for only numerical columns, not for the categorical column. There is no description for them, because unless and until you don't have numerical, there is no statistical description. So this is what basically and the next thing is the n unique will gonna let you me know that how many unique values are present in my data set for the particular each and every columns, for every particular column how many unique values are there. Okay, so in my data.iso, there are 35,000 unique values. That is, these much are the dates which are available, unique dates which are available in my data set. Okay, this is certainly the an approach which I do follow in each of my machine learning project. I start with the head and tail, print the shape column. Okay, check for the duplicates, check for the null values, then go ahead with the information, go ahead with the description, then go ahead with the unique values and unique. Okay, then later on I go for the plots, for the visualizations. Okay, but the thing is I am also available with one more data sheet, that is the energy. I am going to perform the same thing. I'm going to print the head, first 5 rows for it, tail, last 5 rows for it. Then I'm going to find out what is the shape. So the shape of the energy is 35,000. Okay, so I'm having 35,000 rows in my energy data sheet, and these are the columns. These are the column names which are available in my energy data sheet. And we have discussed a lot on each and every column or the feature which has been available in my column of columns of the energy data sheets. Again, I did check, okay, whether there are any duplicated values. So there are no duplicated values. I checked whether there are null values which are available in my data sheet. Yes, I found it. There are null values which are available in my data sheet for the energy. Okay, so these are respectively the null values of each and every column which are present in my data sheet. Okay, I'm going to do something ahead for these features. The next thing is, let me put the information just to check what is the data type of the features which are available. So it's going to let me know that, okay, this is object type, this is floating point, float 64, all the values like float 64, integer 64, and so on. So my data sheet of energy and both weather, they comprises of major feature as numerical, obviously, because this is a numerical analysis. So there was one question asked, what kind of analysis you've done, whether it is qualitative, whether it is quantitative. So what do you think, if you are going to do the numerical analysis, is it qualitative or it is quantitative? Is it quality or quantity?
Quantitative.
It is quantity based. Okay, so this analysis is based upon the quantity. Okay, numerical features are more here. Then I put a description. Okay, again, statistical information of my data set related to the numerical values which are available. So this is just a description, statistical description. And then I printed the unique values available in each and every column or the feature available in my data set. So this is what I did. And these are the simple machine learning techniques which you need to do, you need to follow in each and every of your machine learning data science project. First, understand the data, look out for each and every feature, what kind of feature it is, whether it is okay, this is a feature of related to the price. Okay, price is something, sir, it can be continuous, sir. Price is not discrete, price is it is not categorical also, sir. So price is a continuous feature, understand. Okay, price is continuous. Okay, then other things, any other kind of feature, whether it is whether it is discrete, whether it is continuous, whatsoever, you need to understand the characteristics of your data. Then only you can perform the analysis. If you are unable to understand data, unable to do anything, kuch nahi hoga. Okay, now in case of energy, I'm going to drop some features which I think not been required for the analysis. I'm going to drop the inner generation using coal gas, fossil oil shale, for fossil peat, and all these things. Forecast solar day ahead and onshore ahead, and these I'm going to drop. Okay, and redefining my energy data frame with this. Okay, so all these features I'm going to drop. Okay, so what I did, like offshore day ahead, forecast solar day ahead, and geothermal generation, all these I did drop. Okay, and I created a time column in my energy data set. Time column in such a way that df underscore energy time, there's already a time available, time column available in my date time, df underscore energy. So if I do talk about df underscore energy, here it is. Let me do show you again. Time. Okay, so time is already available in your column of df energy. Time is already available, so I need to do with this something with this time. So what I'm going to do with this time, I am considering, first of all, I need to convert this time into datetime format, convert them into datetime format, and I'm including some more things. UTC equal to true, infer datetime format equal to true. So what is this UTC equal to true, and these all the things. See, ultimately, the task here, these functions are being used to return the time zone basically. Okay, time zone, UTC, that is certainly it's a time zone. Okay, so I need to convert them into some specific time zone. So this function or this particular value is being used in my pandas data frame. Okay, so by default it has been false, but I'm in this particular code I'm making this as a true. Okay, and I'm also inferring the date time format. Okay, I'm just putting some date time format, changing some date time format. Okay, and then finally I'm converting it into date time format. Okay, so here you can see that time has been available in format like first the year is coming. You can see in your data sheet, first the year has been coming, then this is a time has been coming, plus 1 hour is this is something which has been coming. So obviously this is some some standard time notation. So I need to convert it into UTC time format, and I need to basically convert into date time format. So that is why I used this operation. Okay, so every place, everywhere there is something, for example, if I do talk about India, so UTC is certainly universal time. Okay, so if I do talk about the universal time at present the universal time which I found to know is 6:23 a.m. 6:23. So this is coordinated universal time, UTC, coordinated universal time. So currently the coordinated UTC time is 6:23 a.m. Okay, so accordingly I need to convert this into coordinated universal time. I'm making it as true, converting into date time format, and putting a new time in my data sheet. Okay, and setting the index, and setting the time as an index now. Now my time will be not 0 1 2 3 4 5 6. No, I'm setting the time as an index because this is time series analysis basically. So set the time as an index now. After that, now I'm just going to calculate that how many null values are available in my data sheet energy. So okay, these are the null values which I have already checked above. But what happened, I dropped these values. Why I did drop? Because the reason is in 35,000 only I am having, for example, generation foil gas 8,200 vacant, generation for fossil coal heart 7,000 vacant, this is 3,000 vacant, this is 1,600 vacant, 7,000 vacant. So I can't do anything with this vacant. If you tell me, sir, these are numerical, sir, why don't you replace them with, sir, mean, median and mode, वो पूरा गड़बड़ा देगा. वो
Sir,
calculation will gonna something affect.
in this case, alternatively, you could make those as nil, zero.
Yeah, either we can make them 0. Okay, तो लेकिन सर एक्चुअली में क्या होता है कि इफ़ यू मेक देम ज़ीरो करते हैं, बट द पॉइंट इज वो मुझे एनालिसिस में कहीं वो ना कर दे, मतलब रॉन्ग एनालिसिस या फॉल्ट एनालिसिस ना
नहीं
कर दे।
करेगा. This will make the analysis more better. My presumption,
अच्छा,
based on
आपका
the
प्रेजेंट।
data what we are working on,
हाँ हाँ।
this should be made rather zero actually,
ओके।
because on those particular day that output those values were zero, but other days there was something.
Yeah, that there was something. So, sir, see, data has not been available. That means, sir, we don't have the information about it. This is something been considered, sir.
So it is zero.
Okay.
So this need to be taken as zero, na? Because you are talking about generation.
हाँ हाँ,
If there is
generation.
nothing, it means it is zero. Otherwise, there is some value.
Sir, if it would have been zero, sir, it has been placed zero there in data. This is something which I think that यदि नहीं होता कुछ भी तो सर जीरो मार्क करते, उसको नल नहीं करते सर। आई थिंक ऐसा कुछ है, बट स्टिल इफ यू आर सेइंग, तो सर इफ यू डोंट वांट टू ड्रॉप these particular column, क्योंकि it's been not available here, okay, and they are having too many null values available in my data set, so I can't work with this null values, so zero मुझे दी पुट करना है, तो और फिर इनको कंसिडर करना है, तो सर एज पर डेटा सेट वहां पर ये बोला नहीं गया कि यदि नहीं है तो अपन को उसको जीरो से, नहीं तो वो जीरो से रिप्लेस करके देता।
No, I'm saying based on the subject matter understanding, because
Okay.
I know the importance of each of the value. That's
हम्म।
why I'm saying that if we take a zero, it will
Okay.
give a better result.
ओके, ठीक है। सो आई रिक्वेस्टेड एवरीवन एज पर द सजेशन केम, क्योंकि यहाँ पर तो मैंने इनको ड्रॉप करके एनालिसिस, आई डिड एनालिसिस आफ्टर ड्रॉपिंग दीज फीचर्स, बट इन केस you can do something, some code will be obviously required for the replacing the null values with the zero. Okay, so instead of dropping, it's better you can apply a Python code and replace the null values with the zero. Okay, and
हाँ, एक इसमें एक चीज कर सकते हो सर.
हम्म
In case entire row is zero,
हम्म।
then only you eliminate that.
हाँ, ऐसा कर सकते
But
हैं।
rather I will say it has to be zero for all the days. मतलब
ओके।
2015, 16, 17, 18. But that is not possible. So I will rather suggest to take a zero, because it is a time series analysis for the electricity, which is essential commodity without which nothing can happen.
ओके।
So we must make this a zero
ओके सर, कंप्लीट
instead
रो
of
तो जीरो
dropping.
नहीं हो पाएगा, कंप्लीट रो तो
Whatever
पॉसिबल। हाँ हाँ।
whatever
ऑल
null are there, we
हाँ
should
हाँ,
convert a zero only.
जीरो।
Whatever it is, whether it is the entire row or otherwise.
ओके, सो द बेटर थिंग यही है एज पर द सजेशन कि जहाँ जहाँ आपको नल वैल्यूज मिल रहा है, रिप्लेस देम विद द जीरो। तो ये इतनी सारी जगह आपको नल वैल्यूज यू आर गेटिंग, सो एज पर द सजेशन कीम दिस शुड be converted into zeros, but at this particular analysis, okay, at this particular analysis, because there are multiple null values in these columns, so I did dropped. Okay, I did drop them, and then these are the features, these are the basic features which are available to me, which are having some null values 18, 19. That means the point is the utilize, see, if we are having multiple zeros, then definitely the utilization of those resources are less. Am I right? Correct? Am I right, sir? The utilization of those
Yes,
resources are
on
less.
that day,
तो
on
सर
that particular
on that
transaction, it
particular
is
day,
not
so
there.
so the reason is कि इन्होंने काम करा कि जब उनका यूज ही नहीं हो रहा इतना, तो क्यों ना अपन ये मान के चलें कि उनका कमी है तो उनको हटाई दो, मतलब ये ऐसा assumption रहा यहाँ पे, the kind of
No,
assumption.
because sir, here there is a lot of combination which are
हम्म
playing as far as output is concerned.
हम्म।
That is the reason why I'm saying if we drop those or if we delete those, it will have a direct impact on the data quality, because there
Okay,
is a
okay.
4-year data,
हम्म
2015, 16, 17, and 18.
हम्म।
Now in 4 year, it is impossible to have a complete row at zero.
हम्म।
It means there is something wrong. So
या हाँ
always
होगा।
it is possible. Always it is possible. Only on some day you did not get any generation. There is
हम्म।
some breakdown.
हाँ, okay, okay, so
For that reason.
okay, so this suggestion has been noted, और ये जो हमने यहाँ ड्रॉप करा है, दो कॉलम्स जिनको ड्रॉप करा है हमने यहाँ पर, ये वाला लाइन आपका कंसिडर ना होते हुए नल वैल्यूज को जहाँ जहाँ पर है आपके पूरे डेटा फ्रेम में, उसको जीरो से
Convert
रिप्लेस
it to
किया
zero.
जाएगा। या
करेक्ट
that will be replaced by the 0. ओके बट अभी बेसिक अजम्पशन ये रहा कि इनमें इतनी सारी जीरो आ रहे हैं, मतलब इनको यूज ही नहीं किया गया। ओके तो फिर क्यों ना, मेरे पास एम्प्टी वैल्यू थी, मतलब इनका यूज नहीं था, तो ये एक बेसिक प्राइमरी अजम्पशन करते हुए इनको ड्रॉप कर दिया गया। ओके और जिनका सबसे ज्यादा यूज हो रहा था उनको कंसिडर करा एनालिसिस के लिए। तो ये है वो, दीज आर द फीचर्स व्हिच हैज बीन मोस्टली यूज्ड इन माय डेटा सेट, ये है। ओके और फिर इसमें से मैंने क्या करा, पता लगाया 292 नल वैल्यूज आर देयर, ओनली 292 नल वैल्यूज आर देयर। तो ये पता करा हमने यहाँ से हियर दैट हाउ मेनी नल वैल्यूज आर देयर इन माय डेटा सेट एट प्रेजेंट। सो df अंडरस्कोर एनर्जी इसमें 290 इनका सबका सम लिया है, 292 नल वैल्यूज आर देयर इनिशियली इन माय डेटा सेट। फिर क्या करा मैंने, आई नीड टू प्लॉट द सीरीज। अब मुझे सीरीज प्लॉट करना है, अब ध्यान से समझना पड़ेगा ये सारी चीजें। So in order to plot a series, I created a method that is called as a plot series. In this plot series, I'm going to give the data frame. I need to give the column. I need to, series. I need to plot series. Series क्योंकि time series analysis है ये, तो मुझे series plot करनी है। Okay, तो x label देना पड़ेगा। Okay, and y label, टाइटल और जो भी स्टार्टिंग है कहाँ से और कहाँ तक एंड हो रही है वो सब देना पड़ेगा। तो इनिशियली मैंने नन कर रखा है यहाँ पर, और मैं जब फंक्शन कॉल करूंगा तो वहां से उठा के वैल्यू दे दूंगा, ये काम है मेरा। Okay, so if I need to plot certain time series which is either been loaded in a data frame, so that has been loaded in my data frame, okay, in one of its column or it's a panda series or whatsoever, जो भी हमने कर रखा है वो हम यहाँ पर क्या करेंगे, we are going to put them as in we are going to call this method and we need to call give all these values into this method, ये काम करना है। तो क्या करा मैंने, sns.set, तो मैं एक्सेस सेट कर रहा हूँ यहाँ पे। Okay, so subplots, I need to create the subplots whose figure size is 3012। Okay, तो 3012 ये उनका साइज, अब ये डिपेंड अपॉन यू कि आप कितना देना चाह रहे हैं। what is the figure size you want to give, 15 7 20 10 30 12, ये इंचेस के अंदर है पूरा। ओके दिस could be the size, आप दे सकते हैं। और फिर एक्स लेवल आपने सेट करा टाइम, एक्स लेवल यू सेट द टाइम। और कॉलम की यदि बात करें तो हर एक कॉलम जो भी आप दोगे तो उसका स्टार्टिंग और एंडिंग, whatever the column which you are going to give, whatever the specific column, तो आप यहाँ पर दोगे डेटा फ्रेम और यहाँ पर दोगे कॉलम जिसकी टाइम सीरीज बनानी है। For what you need to prepare the time series, give the data frame, give the column name, okay, और फिर यहाँ से starting और ending, उसका लेबल जो भी होगा, whatever be the label is, जो भी उसका नाम है, और यहाँ पर आप y axis सेट करो, जो setting the y label। ओके इफ सीरीज एनी ax डॉट प्लॉट, यदि यहाँ पर सीरीज है, ओके इफ कॉलम, यदि कॉलम दिया तो कॉलम बन जाएगा, यदि कोई सीरीज है तो सीरीज बन जाएगी। इफ लेबल देन यू नीड टू गिव द लेबल नेम, ax डॉट मतलब यू नीड टू ऐड द लेबल। तो दिस इज हाउ यू आर गोइंग टू ऐड द लेबल्स, ax डॉट लेजेंड फॉन्ट साइज 16 एंड देयर इज अ टाइटल, सो ऑब्वियसली तो टाइटल आपको इस तरीके से ऐड करना है। तो जो भी यहाँ पर आएगा इनिशियली मैंने नन कर रखा है। if you are calling this method and if you are giving a data frame, if you are giving column name, if you are giving a series name, if you are giving a label name, if you are giving y label name, whatever you are going to give, तो जब ये बेसिकल इन जनरल तो ये नन है। यदि आपने दे दिया इफ यू हैव गिवन, तो वो प्लॉट कर देगा इसके अकॉर्डिंग, ये सीरीज, ये आपको पूरा के पूरा डायग्राम जो है वो प्लॉट कर देगा। ओके सो आई डिड द सेम, प्लॉट अंडरस्कोर सीरीज को कॉल करा, इस फंक्शन को कॉल करा, मैंने डेटा फ्रेम डीएफ एनर्जी दे दिया, और कॉलम जिनका बनाना है मुझे वो दिया मैंने टोटल एक्चुअल लोड। इसका मुझे टाइम सीरीज बनाना, इसका मुझे सीरीज बनानी थी। फिर टोटल लोड इन मेगा वॉट आवर्स, वाई लेवल पर मैंने दिया, वाई एक्सेस आई एम गोइंग टू गिव द टोटल लोड, और टाइटल में दे रहा हूं एक्चुअल लोड फॉर 2 वीक्स ओरिजिनल, और आई एम गोइंग टू एंड एट 24/7/2। ठीक है, इतने पर मैं जो है इसको आई एम गोइंग टू एंड फॉर 24/7 एंड इनटू 2, तो कितना 2 वीक्स का हो रहा है, गेस 2 वीक्स का हो रहा है 24/7 2 अच्छा, तो 2 वीक्स का या कि डेज का, 2 वीक्स का हो रहा है ना, हाँ 2 वीक्स का है, 24/7, हाँ 24/7 की बात करी मैंने, तो 24/7 वीक होता है, तो इंटू 2 कर दिया, तो 2 वीक्स का मैं यहाँ पर लोड आई नीड टू शो द लोड, आई नीड टू शो द प्लॉट फॉर दैट। ओके, तो बड़ा सिंपल सा मेथड बना है, बहुत समझने वाली बात है। अलग अलग करके कोई प्लॉट नहीं करा, मैंने एक जनरलाइज्ड एक मेथड बना दिया। आई जस्ट डिड अ जनरलाइज्ड मेथड। इन दिस जनरलाइज्ड मेथड आई एम गोइंग टू गिव माय डेटा फ्रेम, आई गोइंग टू गिव माय कॉलम नेम, तो कुछ भी आप दे सकते हो अपनी तरफ से, और ये करना है। इस तरीके से आपने प्लॉट को सेट कर दिया। क्या बोला, यदि कॉलम आ रहा है, इफ यू आर गोइंग टू गेट द कॉलम, तो वो वाला कॉलम में स्टार्ट और एंड जो भी है, ओके, स्टार्टिंग और एंडिंग, तो स्टार्टिंग एंड एंड यहाँ पर दिया था 2 वीक्स का मुझे बनाना है। स्टार्टिंग की यदि बात करें तो स्टार्ट तो 0 से हो रहा है, ठीक है, तो स्टार्ट मैंने ऑलरेडी असाइन कर दिया 0 से, और एंड मैंने नन बोला था, तो एंड आप दे दोगे यहाँ से, एंड यू आर गोइंग टू गिव फ्रॉम योर एंड, योर आप अपनी साइड से एंड दे रहे हैं, और यह आपको पूरा टाइम सीरीज बना के दे रहा है। ओके, सो दिस इज योर एक्चुअल लोड फॉर द 2 वीक्स। ये पूरा 2 वीक का लोड है, और ये 2511 यहाँ से चलते हुए जा रहा है 25115, ये पूरे पूरे 2 हफ्ते का पूरा के पूरा एक्चुअल लोड है। यू कैन सी फ्लक्चुएशन, बात यहीं से समझ में आती है कितना फ्लक्चुएशन होता है। Okay, so this is the actual load which you have calculated. This is the actual total load on hourly basis. Hourly basis है ये पूरा के पूरा। ओके, आफ्टर दैट इसको करने के बाद क्या करा आपने एक्चुअल, तो आप यहाँ पर
Sir,
कोई भी
sir, I have got
पैरामीटर का,
something.
या
I have got something to talk
या
about.
प्लीज से, या
Now अभी अपन जो बात कर रहे थे ना कि
हम्म,
20 अपना वो कुछ डेटा जो डिलीट किए,
हाँ हाँ
if
हाँ
we delete, वो
हाँ
24/7/2 will not be there exactly in that kind of situation.
तो कुछ और होगा, और मतलब इसके अंदर, हाँ,
तो
उनको
वो
तो
सब इम्पैक्ट आ जाएगा उसका।
हाँ इम्पैक्ट आएगा, क्योंकि ये तो उनको लेते
So
हुए डेटा सेट में उनको
so
लेते हुए था। आप
that
ये
need
कह रहे हैं ना, आप ये कह रहे हैं उस डेट पर,
to be made zero only. Those
हाँ,
particular values should be made zero.
मिड जीरो। तो कंसिडरेशन ये है कि
Yes.
उनको अपन ने हटा दिया, और लेकिन दे आर बीन प्रेजेंट इन द डेटा सेट, एंड उसका जो इम्पैक्ट था वो अपन ने इस कॉलम पर तो हटाया नहीं, है ना, हमने इस कॉलम्स पे उनको हटाया नहीं है, लेकिन हम एक जनरल एनालिसिस कर रहे हैं, और इस जनरल एनालिसिस में ये होता है कि वट एवर इफ यू आर हैविंग मेनी नल वैल्यूज प्रेजेंट इन योर डेटा इस पर्टिकुलर कॉलम में, तो उसको रिमूव कर देते हैं। तो कर दिया, उनको रिमूव कर दिया। अब रिमूव करने के बाद आपने उसका इम्पैक्ट यदि जो कुछ भी था नहीं था व्हाट्सएवर इस पूरे कॉलम पर, इस पूरे फीचर पर, तो वो तो आपने कोई चेंज करा है नहीं। आप जो ऑलरेडी वैल्यूज विच आर बीन रिकॉर्डेड हियर वो आपने उठा के यहाँ पर प्लॉट कर दी। ओके, तो ठीक है। ओके, वी अंडरस्टूड द पॉइंट कि यहाँ जो आपने करा है ऊपर, इट्स बेटर कि आप इसको आगे जीरो कन्वर्ट करके जो भी नल वैल्यूज हैं इनको कंसिडरेशन में रखते हुए फिर आप प्लॉट्स को आगे कंटिन्यू करिएगा। ओके, तो अभी इनिशियली आई डिड प्लॉटेड फॉर द 2 वीक्स रिलेटेड टू द टोटल लोड एक्चुअल, दिस इज व्हाट वी ड्रॉन। ओके, नाउ द नेक्स्ट थिंग इज जस्ट ट्राई टू फाइंड कि यार कितनी नल वैल्यूज
सर
है।
इसको ब्रेक करना पड़ेगा, 1 घंटा हो गया।
ओके ओके सर, आई डू ब्रेक। I guess I broke the first thing at 11:15 near around. So sir, after 10 minutes I will break it. Okay. So now the next thing is जैसे अब मैं null values
चलो
की बात,
सर जैसा
हाँ,
भी।
या so अब मैं यदि null values की बात करूं, और अभी जो है आई सी इनको भी कुछ करा नहीं था मैंने, did something to it। ये जो null values हैं अभी भी यहाँ जो आ रही हैं, जो फीचर्स में बच गई थी, विच वर रिमेंबर्ड, बहुत कम है, बट इनको कुछ करा नहीं। ओके, तो अब जैसे आई नीड टू प्रिंट आउट कि डी एफ एनर्जी डॉट इज नल एनी, कोई भी यदि है नल वैल्यू, टेल आखिरी की 5 बताइए मुझे, आखिरी की 5। ओके, तो ये दिख रही है लास्ट 5 ये नल वैल्यूज हैं, इफ एनी, ये देखिए लास्ट ये नल वैल्यूज हैं। ओके, लास्ट 5 बता रहा है। फिर हमने क्या करा, इसमें कुछ
कि
चेंजेस
उसमें
करे।
वैल्यूज है
हाँ हाँ, अब इसमें क्या
इसमें।
करा, इसमें हमने लगाया डीएफ अंडरस्कोर एनर्जी इंटरपोलेट। ओके, इंटरपोलेशन। अब इंटरपोलेशन क्या है, थोड़ा सा इंटरपोलेशन मींस सी बेसिकली हम फिल कर देंगे जो नल वैल्यूज हैं, जैसा वो सर ऊपर भी पहले भी बोले कि सर आपने उनको ड्रॉप कर दिया है, या मुझे लग रहा है कि थोड़ा सा इशू आएंगे इसमें, ठीक है। तो इंटरपोलेशन में हम क्या कर रहे हैं कि ये जो जहां जहां कम कम वैल्यूज बची हैं नल के लिए, नल है, सो व्हाट वी आर गोइंग टू डू हियर इज वी आर गोइंग टू परफॉर्म द इंटरपोलेशन। तो इंटरपोलेशन क्या करता है, दिस फंक्शन इज बेसिकली यूज टू फिल नल वैल्यूज इन अ डेटा फ्रेम और द सीरीज। ओके, सो ये फिल कर देगा उन वैल्यूज को, okay, by taking the interpolation, okay, or
Sir,
interpolation में, yeah,
can you continue in English? A lot of
yeah, sure,
Hindi
sure,
mixed.
yeah, sure, okay. So it was gonna fill this into the missing values which are present in your data frame for this particular rows which we have seen here. And this interpolation technique is going to follow linear method. So I hope if in mathematics you have been idea about the linear interpolation. So here we are not going to go in depth and discuss about what is this linear interpolation is actually is. But the point is I'm going to use here the interpolation technique, and the method I'm going to apply is a linear method. And in this linear method it is going to ignore the index and treat the values with the equal spaced things. So I'm going to perform the interpolation and fill the values. So there is no chance of dropping those rows. I could have used this thing df underscore energy dot drop na. Okay, I would have used drop na in place equal to true. Okay, and then I will drop all the rows which are having the null values. But instead of that, I'm using the interpolation. And now I can check, print the non-zero values present in the column. Okay, so non-zero values which are present in the column, so these are respectively the non-zero values which are present in each column. Okay, and how I just going to print all of them, df underscore energy dot s type bool sum separated by slash n. S type bool, that means change them change what, s type. S type means change the data type into boolean. Okay, and then sum them, how many values are there, sum them, x is equal to 0 I have defined right now. Okay, separated by slash n. Okay, so these are the non-zero values which are present in your data set. Now what to do, I again defined a method that is df convert d types. In this method I'm going to give my data frame, and I'm going to take two parameters, convert from to convert to. Okay, that means I'm going to convert the data from data type from one to another. And how I'm going to convert, see, columns equal to df dot select data types, select convert from dot columns. If columns dot values s type, then convert into something which I'm going to give from my end. I need to give. How this is going to perform, for example, df underscore weather, I'm going to take this data frame. Previously I was working on what, I was working on energy. Here I was working on energy data frame, and I hope you understood what we did till further on energy data frame. But right now I'm going to consider weather data frame. This is what I'm going to consider. So in weather data frame, if I'm having integer, convert it into float. If I'm having integer values, convert it into float. So this is what data type will going to give here. Okay, so just select those data types which are having integers in my data frame. So this is how been gonna work. This will be listed in all the columns. So df dot select data types, it will take all the integer values in my columns, and then for columns in cos, it will going to apply the for loop over each and every column, and it will convert the data type of integer 64 into float 64. Just convert them into floating point. This will be better, because working with integer is something it's better to convert them into floating points. So obviously not will, what will happen, point 0 will be added at the last. Okay, so all integer will be converted into floats. Now next, I'm going to do the same thing which I did with the time. With respect to the energy, I did the same thing. I converted into date time format, UTC and all this stuff. Okay, so I just converted the time into date time format for the weather also. And I did drop dt underscore ISO. Okay, So I just created a new new column, that is time, and I converted this dt ISO into datetime format, and I dropped my initial dt underscore ISO, and just I will be working now with the time itself. And again, I made the index time for the weather also. I did the same thing. I made time as an index for the energy also, and here also with weather, I'm making time as an index. Okay. So let me stop the recording and then I will proceed ahead.